We simply cannot afford to follow in the footsteps of Labour and the Conservatives in not respecting the European Union result in Scotland. I was a no supporter in 2014. I changed my mind.
My dad currently works in DL Steelworks. My granddad worked in the old Ravenscraig. I know from experiencing what my family have been like in unemployment, what it's like, and I suppose that I wanted to go into politics to change that.
In the Daily Record this morning, David Cameron, Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg renewed their promise of extensive new powers for the Scottish Parliament in the event of a no vote.
We need to release that grip of Westminster and Whitehall, which has stifled governance in England and indeed across the United Kingdom for too long. So I see today as the beginning of a process.
Well, I was a no voter in 2014, albeit I only backed no on the basis that the UK would be federal afterwards. Of course, that didn't quite happen afterwards. And then with the English Votes for English Laws later on, I started to move towards backing independence. Well, I read a lot of the media, which was of course biased, and obviously the Better Together campaign ran a pretty scary campaign, to be honest, which made me worry about, what sort of jobs would be available to me in the future, and, what problems there would be for my family with the likes of pensions if we voted yes. The Lib Dems really did play a role in that, which they shouldn't have. They should have been advocating a liberal version of Better Together with a more federal UK, in fact a completely federal UK.
We'll have done it for the whole of Europe. I hope this victory brings down this failed project.
I suppose it was last year, straight after the vote to leave the European Union, I wanted to protect our role in it, because I think it's absolutely great for young people. It offers opportunities like Erasmus, and also I suppose civil liberties and protecting human rights played a big part. That's what I want to see people experience, and the one stumbling block I suppose was their stance on the independence, but they do allow people to campaign for it if they want to.
I'm going to go against the majority view in this party on the motion and oppose it for the simple reason that it is unrealistic and unfeasible.
Well, I looked at the motion before I attended conference, and to be honest, it just didn't make sense at all. I mean, it advocated staying in both unions when we all know that that isn't possible at the moment. And we all know that the Lib Dems are going to have to make a choice sooner or later about which union we prefer. And that's what I told conference. I told them that they're going to have to make a choice, and I told them which choice I make. I wanted to remain a member of the European Union rather than staying a member of an intolerant right-wing United Kingdom.
More people in our country are starting to think like me, and the obstacles to an independent Scotland in the European Union are slowly deteriorating.
Well, I think they are quite split. I mean, I've spoken to quite a few members who were willing to listen to what I had to say, and they also believe that we should have a choice between two unions, but of course the party position is strongly pro-UK and pro-EU, and it needs to be resolved.
Now, I never had a say in it, but I respect the view of England and of Wales. But I also respect the will of the Scottish people to remain, which I believe we must honour at all costs. To do so is democratically acceptable, and it is of paramount importance that we defend our place in the European Union.
I mean, it's hard to say right now, but I think that at the moment the party is probably narrowly swinging towards no. But I think that once the Brexit talks pan out and they turn out to be as disastrous as I think they will be, then I think we'll start to see a lot more pro-independence members of the party.
Hang on, it's one thing to say that you're against having another independence referendum. Everybody knows that's the position of the Liberal Democrats. It's a completely different thing to say that you would have the Parliament in London block the Parliament in Scotland from holding another referendum?
I mean, they do allow us to campaign for yes or no, but I think that the party are going for too hardline a unionist approach here, almost like a diet conservative idea, which I don't agree with entirely. I think that we do need to advocate keeping our options open and staying in the EU, even if it does mean going independent.
The Liberal Democrats are the only challengers to the SNP, and the only chance you've got if you want to prevent a divisive additional independence referendum that the SNP clearly want. But also across the country, across the whole of the United Kingdom, the Liberal Democrats are now growing into that space that an official opposition.
We do try to follow a similar idea to those proposed by the UK party. To be honest, I think that we need to be a bit more independent and set ourselves apart from it, because the Scottish electorate almost at times feel like, especially in 2014, they were ruled from a London-based Lib Dems, Labour and Tory campaign, and that didn't really work. I think that we need to set ourselves apart, almost like we're a Scottish party that stands up for Scotland.
To be true. The Conservative amendment is full of irony. It accuses the SNP of division, when it is the Conservatives that have divided this country over Brexit, simply to heal the divisions in their own party.
I mean, the fact that the Scottish Parliament is a temporary institution is actually quite a fact that's not known by many people. It could be abolished by Westminster tomorrow. They can legislate on anything to do with the Scottish Parliament at any time.
Well, I feel that ultimately any power that hasn't been stated as reserved in the Scotland Act that established the Parliament, I think that any power that isn't stated as reserved in that must ultimately come back. I doubt it will happen, and I think that the Lib Dems have to take a tougher stance on that, really hold the Tories to account on it, because the likes of fishing and so on, that should ultimately lie with Holyrood post-Brexit. Well, I imagine Scottish independence as Scotland independent in the European Union and working together with the other member states to almost like Scotland becomes a global force. No, I don't have any doubts at all that we could be successful at all. No, I think that ultimately Scotland has the infrastructure to succeed. It has the minds and the technology to succeed in the world, and it has its own unique talents that it can bring to the global stage. And I think that if we do campaign for independence, as I really do hope that we do, then a lot of those supporters will come back to their true home because they value our work on the likes of civil rights and justice and working for a better education. When the second independence referendum comes round, I know for sure that I'll be backing yes, and I urge my fellow Lib Dems to do so as well.